Hello again, my friends, my fellow MMO bombers. Wilfredo here with MMOBomb.com to bring you the next video in the Should You Come Back Is It Worth Playing series. This one, nothing special, kind of meh, so let's just get right into it. This is Rift. Enjoy. Rift, Plains of Telara is the name of the game this time around. Released in March of 2011 as a pay-to-play game, and then a free-to-play conversion in June of 2013, Rift is a theme park MMO developed by Tryon Worlds and currently being published by Gamigo Games. I can already hear a groan or two about Gamigo, and yes, I agree, but let's not put the axe head before the handle. This tab-target MMO definitely has many of the familiar tropes of many other MMOs, but does it have its own unique quirks too? Let's tear into this world and find out. You see what I did there with the whole tear thing? Yep. Yeah. Sorry. Rift starts with a video of some of the events and happenings in this fantasy world and then brings you to the creation screen. Two factions, the Guardians and the Defiants. Both are trying to do the same thing. Stop the end of the world from happening at the hands of Regulos, the dragon god of the plane of death. Great, here we go again with the savior complex. From this moment forward, you will be referred to as Ascended. There are 3 races per faction. The Guardians have the humans, dwarves, and elves. The Defiants have the Eth, Kalari, and the Bami. All races have a unique racial skill and trait. This is cool as it makes, picking a race feel like it actually has some weight, but may also limit your playability. But from my experience, this is completely negligible. There are 5 classes to choose from, with one of them being a paid class in the Primalist. Warrior, Cleric, Mage, and Rogue are the 4 classes you can play without spending a dime. When you choose a class, the game offers you archetypes based upon the role you want to play in Rift. Rift has the Holy Trinity plus 1 more. Rift breaks down their subclasses, if you will, into offensive, defensive, healer, and support. Offensive are heavy damage dealers, regardless of position on the field. Defensive, tanks and buff supports. Healers are, healers, and supports are buffs and heals with AoE and crowd control. Now, if you're thinking that the Cleric is primarily a healer, you'd be wrong. All classes can do a vast amount of any role you want. Rogues can support, while Warriors or Meat Shields can heal in a pinch based on your build. More on that later, though. I created a Bami Cleric named Cuddlebutt. Don't ask, just accept him. Once finished, we are given a quick cinematic of what's going on in the world of Telara, and as you would expect, nothing special is going on that we haven't played before. You're basically popped out of a pod and told to go confront a god. Not even so much as a, hello, how was the pod? Did you sleep well? Anywho, you're given some tabs to read about movement and camera controls, and then the tutorial takes you through many of the basics. What it doesn't tell you is that you have a lot more skills available to you at the start of the game. Your hotbar only has about 3 skills on it at the start of the tutorial, and if you try and play through the starter area or with only 3 skills, you'll check out of the game fast, as combat is a slog. This is not a good start with combat, as there is a lot of it in the early parts of the game. Press P to open your skills menu and drag and drop any and all skills that you want to your hotbar. I honestly feel like Rift may have almost killed their game at the start by not informing the player that they have skills available to them, but they're not on the hotbar, and there's no notification on how to add new skills to your hotbar. Once you get your hotbar established, it's the tropes of any other tab-target MMO you've ever played. This isn't a bad thing, it's just samey and familiar. There are also some interactive moments that require you to activate a quest item that's tagged on your quest log. Again, nothing innovative, but it is something different. As you near the end of the tutorial area, the game has you meet the primary antagonist, Regulos. Regulos sends one of his generals to fight you before bringing the end of Telara just after you depart to the past. Another cinematic shows part of the destruction, and then you are popped into the past where things are just starting to get bad, but they're not on the brink. You speak to someone who tells you about the Soul Tree. I'll go into this deeper later, but basically it's a game teaching you how to spec your character based upon the 3 sections of the Soul Tree: the branches, the core, and the roots. You then go and do some things to solidify that yes, you are in fact in the past, and now you have to save the world before it's destroyed. Again. You now go through the world of Talara and you do things you've done so many times before in other MMOs. You go here, kill this, fetch that, level up, and move on to endgame. This is a bit time consuming, but here's the thing. The experiences weren't terrible. They're just not special or unique for the most part. Normally this is the section where I talk about gameplay, but I wanted to talk more about the features of the game before the gameplay because there's some good, albeit common, features within Rift. First, let's talk about the one thing that makes Rift stand out a bit, the Soul Tree. The Soul Tree is the spec system in Rift, and I have to admit, it's well done. The Soul Tree is broken down into 3 parts as I mentioned before. Let's start with the branches. Branches are the section where you would spend the points that you earn, making that particular part of the tree grow. Many traits will be passive, but there are some skills and spells to be collected as well, adding to your soon-to-be robust hotbars. The more points you put into the branches, the more your roots grow too. The roots are the active skills you earn by adding points into the branches. These are your main skills and attacks for your hotbar, and they are bolstered by the branches. Finally, there are the cores. You can have up to 3 cores per role that you create. Each core has a combat type to help you build your character to your playstyle. If you want to go full offensive and be a damage-dealing badass, go for it. You want to build a total solo survivor? Choose the cores that you feel will be best for that build and then spend the points accordingly. This is the one thing, to me at least, that makes Rift worth checking out at the very least, as you can have up to 4 roles for free and you can purchase more, should that tickle your fancy. The next feature, again, isn't something super innovative, even for its time, and that's the rifts themselves. These player-started open-world events are short instances for multiple players that are just out and about to gain some quick XP and some potential loot along the way without having to be in a group or a guild. You can just walk up to an area with a tear and just do as the quest tracker asks. This starts up the Rift Challenge, and they are a bit different for each playthrough. Some challenges are timed, but most are kill X many of a thing. Rift does this well, but it's nothing to rave about as it's done competently, but it can become a bore and sometimes very annoying in certain circumstances. Another feature, which is by far the most functional feature in Rift, is the Instant Adventure feature. I won't lie, I thought I'd be waiting for a while for this queue to pop, but on average I would usually jump into an Instant Adventure within about 30 seconds. I'm extremely impressed. Once you jump in, you are level scaled to the instance level with a group and you just go. The minimap will tell you where your objective is and you get there and you do the thing. I gained so many levels doing this alone that I made it my primary way to level, and I made it to level 40 in about 10 hours. That's very impressive as I was able to get a ton of group content footage. And I had a great time doing it too. There are no defined roles for these adventures, as everyone has the same idea. Beat the instance. And if you come midway through to the adventure, that's fine too. The adventure repeats itself, so you can do it as many times as you want. I have to admit that this alone made Rift not just bearable to play, it actually made it fun. Some of the other features are the standard fare of MMORPGs like crafting, raids, PvP, guilds, mounts that you can pay for with in-game cash and use immediately after getting to a certain level, looking at you, Lotro. And instant player housing, which is actually kind of nice, albeit a little gloomy where my tavern is located. I would strongly advise that should you want to get into crafting, do it early in game because it's a pain after you leveled a bit. Overall, while the instant adventure had a big impact on my experience, there's just something that feels a bit boring over a certain amount of time, but nothing deal-breaking. I'm still very much in the middle of the road of this game so far. Now, at the beginning of this video, I mentioned that this game is currently being published by Gamigo. That alone should tell you so much about the monetization of Rift. Now, you can completely play the base game of Rift without spending a dime, and I like that. But the cash shop was all over the place in Rift, and I mean literally, it was everywhere. While not as egregious as Lotro with the cash shop being on the main hotbar, almost every interaction with non-general goods has a means for you to spend real-world money to get what you need. At first I thought maybe the cash shop is pay for convenience, but then I saw something that almost made me shut this down, and that's literal weapons in the cash shop. Hey, Game Ago, I hope you step on a Lego. This screams pay to win. Why are you putting weapons and armor sets in the cash shop? Go home, Game Ago. You're drunk. There's also the Patron Status, which is nothing more than a sub, but it has some bonuses for your currency gains, mount speeds, and XP gains. How much of a bonus? While mount speeds is only 10% and currency boost is 15%, the XP boost is 40%. Get bent over a volcano of Mentos and Diet Coke, Game Ago. That is just wrong in so many ways that it makes me angry, but upon further discovery, you can turn this boost off if you want, but if you're paying $15 a month, you're likely going to use it. I'm not a fan of this cash shop, but at least you can still play the base game from start to finish without having to spend any money in the cash shop. So I left the gameplay portion of this video towards the end as there was very little to say about the gameplay specifically. It's standard fare when it comes to tab target MMOs. Multiple hotbars of skills, bigger number wins, PvP, etc, etc. I look back and I gave a lot of guff to Lotro when I did that video because to me it was more of the same. Tab target, bigger number wins, hotbars full of skills, go there, come back here. Rift has all of that stuff too. The sad thing is that Rift is 4 years younger than Lotro and does nothing different. So why did I enjoy Rift a little bit more than Lotro? Honestly, I didn't, and I realized why. It's because Rift is just as basic as Lotro. Sure, the group content was great, but at the end of the day, Rift is chicken noodle soup, vanilla ice cream, pumpkin spice basic. It gets all of the tropes right without the lag or bugs. That's it. The only other issue that I had was that the drop rate was low for gear. I had like the same chest piece and cap for almost 10 levels, and that is a sign of the law of diminishing returns. I mean, I guess I could just buy gear in the cash shop, where it's a guaranteed drop, but, kind of steals the fun of playing the game. Overall, Rift is the MMORPG equivalent of meh. Should you come back to Rift in 2022? Honestly, it's a coin flip. I think this is one of many games that under the right light, you can have a great deal of enjoyment for a time before you start to feel those dated systems wear on you. But on the other hand, if you're looking for a game to main for a while and you have no problem spending money on a sub, you can definitely do much better and get more bang for your buck. Rift is okay and is a great game for newcomers to the MMORPG genre as it's free, easily accessible, and it has all the systems that most tab target theme park MMOs have. Full disclosure, playing Rift made me really question my opinion hard on Lotro, and I will be doing a redo of the Lotro video once their big update drops in the near future, because Rift and Lotro are in the same boat, and I think it's only fair that I go into the new experience of Lotro similar to how I did with Rift, going with no expectations. I expected nothing from Rift and had a good time, but not one worth making me made this game for any prolonged period. I had the opposite reaction to Lotro as I had high hopes going into it, but was severely let down. When I play an MMORPG, I want to have a reason to lose myself in that world and the gameplay. Rift can do this to the right person, but just not me. It feels and plays average, but that's not always a bad thing. So what do you think? Is Rift worth checking out in 2022? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to check out MMOBomb.com for all the latest news, inquiries, ideas, thoughts, concepts, recipes, jokes, I think there's jokes, and podcasts in the realm of the multiplayer. As always, stay safe, stay sick, and I'll see you guys on the other side.